Sorry, guys. Welcome back to the Sex and the City series, ladies and gentlemen. I am Charlie. And before I continue on with chapter 5, please make sure to go back if you have not heard chapters 1 through 4. Go back and listen to those chapters so that you can understand fully what's going on right now. We already know that they introduced Charlotte so far as one of Carrie's friends, of course, that she just met. Now, I wanted to share this with you real quick. These are just, like I told you guys, I literally have all the seasons of Sex and the City that I've collected, of course, over the years. Some of them are still over in my cabinet, but I have all the seasons right here. This is season 1, and of course this came in a 3 DVD set, so this is all the shows from season 1 when they first came out. Season 2, yeah. Season 3 is somewhere in the room, and then there's the 4th season, and then season 5, and of course it goes on to season 6. So I have all the seasons, including both movies. So when I tell you guys that I was a Sex and the City freak, yeah, I was a Sex and the City freak, and I still have all these. I haven't even watched the full season of 5 yet. So yeah, I still have some entertaining shows to watch. But I just wanted to show you guys that because I wanted to show you guys that I do actually have all the seasons, and I was, and still at some point, was obsessed with it. So, anyway, you guys. And the music that you're hearing that I'm playing on, you know, little bits every now and then is music that was introduced on the first movie of Sex and the City. Alright, you guys. Continue on with Chapter 5. This is Meet the Guys Who Bed Models. And in the actual DVD series, this would be Season 1 that this happened. So, alright. There was just the slightest stir as Gregory Rowe, the conspiracy filmmaker, slipped into the Bowery Bar on a recent Friday night. And excuse me, guys, if I mess up on certain words and stuff, I'm sorry. I try to get through it my best, but it is 12:04 a.m. I'm a little tired, but I wanted to at least do another chapter here tonight, so yeah. The auteur of such controversial films as GRF, General Rudolph Ford, and The Monkees, Mr. Roke was wearing a tatty tweed jacket and keeping his head down. Surrounding him was a swarm of 6 young women, new models with a well-known modeling agency. All of the girls were under 21, 2 were as young as 16, and most of them had never seen Mr. Rowe's films, and frankly, couldn't have cared less. Functioning like 2 small tugboats and keeping the swarm moving and intact were the modelizers, Jack and Ben, 2 self-employed investors in their early 20s, men on nondescript features save for the bucket of one and the stylish, spiky haircut of the other. Now it's funny because during the series, they showed one of the, or during the TV series, they showed one of the modelizers, of course, fine as hell, and Samantha wound up sleeping with one of them. At first glance, it looked like a merry group. The girls were smiling. Mr. Rowe sat in a banquet, flaked by his beauties, while the 2 young men sat in the aisle chairs as if to ward off any unwelcome intruders who might try to talk to Mr. Rowe, or, even worse, still one of the girls. Mr. Rowe would lean towards one or another girl, engaging in snippets of conversation. The young men were lively, but it wasn't quite as charming as it appeared. For one thing, if you looked closely at the girls, you could see the boredom pulling down their features like old age. They had nothing to say to Mr. Rowe, and even less to say to each other. But everyone at the table had a job to do, and they were doing it. So the group sat and sat, looking glamorous, and after a while they got into Mr. Rowe's limousine and went to the tunnel, where Mr. Rowe danced dispiritedly with one of the girls, and then realized he was bored up to his eye teeth and went home alone. The girls stayed for a while and took drugs, and then Jack, who had the spiky haircut, grabbed one of the girls and said, "You stupid slut." And she went home with him. He gave her more drugs, and she gave him a blowjob. That sort of scenario is acted out just about every night in New York, in restaurants and clubs. There, one invariably finds the beautiful young models who flock to New York like birds, and their attendants, men like Jack and Ben, who practically make a profession of wining and dining them, and varying degrees of success, seducing them. Meet the modelizers. Modelizers are a particular breed. They're a step beyond womanizers, who will sleep with just about anything in a skirt. Modelizers are obsessed, not with women, but with models. They love them for their beauty and hate them for everything else. Their stupidity, their flakiness, their lack of values, their baggage, says Jack. Modelizers inhabit a sort of parallel universe in its own planets. Nubel, Bruley Bar, Tabac, Flowers, Tunnel, Expo, Metropolis, and Satellites, the various apartments, many near Union Square, and the big modeling agencies rent for the models. And goddesses, Linda, Naomi, Christy, Ellie, Bridget, welcome to their world. It's not pretty. The modelizers. Not any man can become a modelizer. To get models, you have to be rich, really good looking, and or in the arts, says Barkley. He's an up-and-coming artist, and he has a face like a Botticelli angel framed by a blonde plaid boy haircut. He's sitting in his junior loft in Soho, which is paid for by his parents, as all the rest of his expenses, his father being a coat hanger magnate in Minneapolis. That's good for Barkley because being a modelizer isn't cheap. There are drinks at clubs, dinners, cab expenses from one club to another, and drugs, mostly marijuana, but occasionally heroin and cocaine. It also takes time, lots of time. Barkley's parents think he's painting, but he's too busy spending his days organizing his nights with models. Frankly, I'm kind of confused about this whole model thing, Barkley says. He's pacing around his loft in leather jeans, shirtless. His hair is just washed and his chest has something like 3 hairs on it. Models love him. They think he's hot and nice. You've got to treat them just like regular girls, he says. Then he lights up a cigarette and says, you've got to be able to roll into a place and go right up to the hottest girl there. Otherwise, you're finished. It's like being around dogs. You've got to show no fear. The phone rings. Hannah. She's doing a shot in Amsterdam. Barkley puts her on the speaker. She's lonely and she's stoned. I miss you, baby, she moans. Her voice is like a serpent trying to crawl out of its skin. If you were here right now, I'd have your ding-dong down my throat. Ah! I love that so much, baby. See, Barkley says. He talks to her, ragging his fingers through his hair. He lights up a joint. I'm smoking with you now, baby. There are 2 kinds of modelizers. Those who are closing the deal and those who aren't. Leading the pack are the supermodelizers, men who's seen with the likes of Ella Macpherson, Bridget Hall, Naomi Campbell. There are guys like this any place models congregate. Paris, Milan, and Rome, says Mr. Flesky. These guys have status in the world of modeling. They can pick off models like clay pigeons. They burn them and turn them. But not all modelizers are high profile. In Manhattan, a necessarily stopping off point for young new models just being rich can be enough. Take George and his partner, Charlie. On any given night of the week, George and Charlie are taking a group of models, sometimes up to 12, out to dinner. George and Charlie could be Middle Eastern or even Middle European or even Middle Eastern. But in truth, they're from New Jersey. They're in the import-export business, and through neither is 30 yet. They've each worth a few million. Charlie never gets laid, says George, laughing, spinning around in his leather swivel chair behind a large mahogany desk in his office. There are oriental carpets on the floor and real art on the walls. George says he doesn't care about getting laid. It's a sport, he says. For these guys, the girls are a trophy extension, confirms Mr. Fletsky. Maybe they feel unattractive or are blindly ambitious. Last year, George got a 19-year-old model pregnant. He knew her for 5 weeks. Now they've got a 9-year-old month son. He never sees her anymore. Here's what she wants. $4,500 a month in child support, a $5,000 life insurance policy, a $5,000 or $50,000 college fund. I think that's a little excessive, don't you? George asks. When he smiles, the tops of his teeth are gray. This is When Helium Girls, or Wilhelmina Girls. That word is hard to say, you guys. Oh my god, we're already reaching 12 minutes here. Let me see how much we got left here. Shit. Alright, well, since we're already at 12 minutes on this video, I'm going to go ahead and continue this chapter on the next video, you guys. So, so far it's pretty interesting. At least we can find out what the heck a modelizer is. Now, on the actual season, like I said, Samantha and Carrie both wind up meeting a modelizer. And, of course, Samantha, being the slut of the group, which is this one right here, actually sleeps with one of the models, and he winds up taping her, and she just loves it. She loves the whole idea of it, but, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Alright, you guys, stay tuned to the next video, and we're going to continue part 2 of Chapter 5, The Modelizers. Alright, you guys, we'll be right back after this. Holla back.